200 guests. Exposed. My husband's mistress standing 10 feet away from me, and my finger on the play button. That video Derek never saw coming. It had everything. Every lie, every text message to his side chick, every dollar he stole from me. $67,000 of debt he put in my name while he was planning our anniversary party with her, sitting in my house. Oh, yes, she was there. At my anniversary party. Because my husband actually had the audacity to invite his mistress to celebrate 10 years of marriage with me. He just didn't know I knew. For 6 months, I watched this man smile in my face while he planned his escape. For 6 months, I traced every transaction recorded, every lie documented, every secret meeting. See, Derek forgot one thing. I'm a forensic accountant. Finding hidden money and buried secrets is literally what I do for a living. He thought he was playing me. Baby, I was playing chess while he was playing checkers. And tonight was checkmate. I smiled at my husband across that crowded room. He smiled back so confident, so sure he had gotten away with it. His mistress was watching us, probably thinking she had already won. Then I pressed play, and 200 people watched Derek Lawson's entire life fall apart in 12 minutes. If you want to see how a woman who traces fraud for a living destroys the man who tried to destroy her, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button right now, like this video, and comment below. Tell me where you're watching from. I want to know how many queens are here for this story. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Let me show you how the perfect marriage became the perfect crime, and how I solved my own case. 6 months before that party, I thought I had everything figured out. Good job, fine husband, beautiful home in the suburbs, 10 years married with no kids by choice. We were living that double income, no kids life. At least that's what I thought. My name is Victoria Lawson. I'm 38 years old, and I'm a forensic accountant at one of the biggest firms in the city. For 12 years, I've been tracing fraud, finding hidden money, exposing people who think they're smarter than the paper trail they leave behind. Companies pay me 6 figures to find what they can't see. Turns out, I couldn't see what was happening in my own house. Let me tell you about my typical day back then. I'd wake up at 5:30, go to the gym, come home, make coffee, kiss my husband goodbye while he was still half asleep. Derek always said he worked late nights with clients, so he needed his rest. I believed him. I was a fool. I'd go to work, sit in meetings, trace money through shell companies, find the lies hidden in spreadsheets. My colleagues respected me. My bosses were about to make me partner. My year-end bonus was coming, $45,000. I had worked hard for it. Then I'd come home to an empty house. Derek was always showing properties, meeting clients, networking. Real estate is all about relationships, he used to say. I'd eat dinner alone, watch some TV, go to bed. He'd come home around 10 or 11, smelling like cologne and expensive restaurants. Client dinners, he'd say, just building the business. I was so proud of him, so proud of us. We made it 10 years, and in this day and age, that means something. At least I thought it did. Sundays we'd go to church together. Pastor would see us in the front row holding hands, looking like the perfect couple. People used to come up to us after service and say, "You two give me hope. Y'all are relationship goals." Derek would squeeze my hand and smile that smile of his, the one that made me fall in love with him at our friend's wedding all those years ago. We met when we were both 28. My girl Keisha was getting married, and Derek was in the groom's party. He walked up to me at the reception, handed me a glass of champagne, and said, "I've been watching you all night, and I had to know your name." Smooth, confident, fine as hell in that suit. We talked for 3 hours. He told me about his dreams of building a real estate empire. I told him about my career, my goals, my grandmother's house that I was going to buy one day. He listened like every word mattered. 6 months later, we were engaged. A year after that, we were married. I paid for most of the wedding because Derek was between jobs, but he promised he'd pay me back once his business took off. He never did. Looking back, I see the pattern now. I paid for his real estate licensing school. I made the down payment on our house with my savings. $95,000 from the account my mother left me when she passed. I paid 80% of the mortgage every month while Derek's commissions were always coming soon, but I didn't see it then. I saw a man I loved, a partnership, a future. Our anniversary party was my idea. 10 years is a milestone, I told Derek. Let's celebrate. Let's invite everyone. Let's show the world what we built together. I booked the caterers. I hired the DJ. I rented the tent for the backyard. I ordered the decorations, the flowers, the champagne. $30,000 of my money to celebrate our love. Derek's contribution. He said he'd handle the guest list. He'd invite his colleagues, his family, his church friends. I thought he was being helpful. I didn't know he was inviting his mistress. The week before everything changed, I was sitting in my office finishing up a case. Standard corporate fraud. CEO was siphoning money through fake vendors. Easy to trace if you know what you're looking for. The numbers always tell the truth, even when people lie. I remember thinking, I'm good at this. I'm really good at this. I can find anything. 3 days later, I found out just how right I was. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at my desk reviewing quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. Credit monitoring alert. New account opened in your name. I frowned and opened the notification. A credit card application had been approved. $15,000 limit. An account I never applied for. My first thought was identity theft. Happens all the time. Someone steals your social security number, opens accounts, runs up debt. I deal with this kind of fraud professionally. I know the signs. But then I looked at the application details. The address on the account was my address. The phone number was my phone number. The application came from inside my house. My hands went cold. There are only 2 people in this world who have access to my social security card, my driver's license, my signature. Me and my husband. I didn't call Derek. Professional instinct kicked in. When you suspect fraud, you don't alert the suspect. You gather evidence first. You build your case. You wait until you have everything you need before you make your move. So I pulled my full credit report, all 3 bureaus, and what I found made me sick to my stomach. 3 credit cards I didn't open, all in my name, all maxed out. $67,000 in debt I knew nothing about. The applications had been submitted over the past 18 months. Someone had been slowly, systematically destroying my credit while I worked 70-hour weeks and paid all our bills. I sat at my desk for an hour, just staring at those numbers. $67,000. That's more than some people make in a year. That's a down payment on a house. That's my mother's inheritance gone. But I didn't cry. Not yet. Instead, I did what I do best. I followed the money. I pulled the transaction histories for all 3 cards. Hotel rooms, expensive ones. Not the kind you book for business trips. The kind with king-sized beds and room service and late checkouts. A jewelry store. $4,800 in a single purchase. I never received any jewelry. A women's clothing boutique. $2,300. The sizes were wrong, too small for me. Restaurants. Romantic restaurants with candlelit tables and prix-fixe menus. Places I'd never been. Dates I didn't go on. And then I found it. An apartment deposit. $3,500. A luxury building downtown. An address I'd never seen before. Derek was renting an apartment. With my money. An apartment I didn't know existed. My mind started putting the pieces together. The late nights, the weekend showings, the cologne. The way he'd been distant lately, always on his phone, always stepping outside to take calls. He wasn't building his business. He was building a whole other life. That night I came home and watched him. Really watched him. He was sitting on the couch, scrolling his phone, smiling at something on the screen. When I walked in, he quickly switched apps. "Hey, baby," he said. "Didn't hear you come in." "How was work?" "Fine," I said. "Just tired." He nodded already, looking back at his phone. "There's leftover Chinese in the fridge if you're hungry." I stood there in my own living room looking at the man I'd been married to for almost 10 years, and I realized I didn't know him at all. The man I loved, the man I trusted, the man I'd given everything to. He was a stranger. But I smiled. I said okay. I went to the kitchen and heated up food I couldn't taste. And I started planning. See, most women would confront. Most women would scream, cry, throw things, demand answers, and Derek was counting on that. If I confronted him, he'd lie. He'd minimize. He'd gaslight me. He'd say I was crazy. I was imagining things. I was being paranoid. And then he'd cover his tracks. Delete the evidence. Close the accounts. Hide the money. I wasn't going to give him that chance. I'm a forensic accountant. Building cases is what I do. Finding the truth is my job. And Derek had just become my most important case. Over the next few days, I gathered more evidence. I didn't change anything. I didn't confront him. I kissed him goodbye every morning like nothing was wrong. I texted him hearts and love yous like always. I talked about the anniversary party like I was still excited. But every night after he fell asleep, I was building my file. Screenshots, bank statements, credit reports, a timeline of every lie. And then I called my best friend Brenda. We've been girls since Howard. She's a corporate attorney now. Been through her own divorce 5 years ago. If anyone would understand, it was her. Bray, I said, I need your help. I think Derek is cheating on me, and I think he's stealing from me too. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, Girl, I've been waiting for this call. Tell me everything. So I did. Every detail, every dollar, every lie I'd uncovered. When I finished, Bree let out a long breath. Victoria, she said, you need to get everything, and I mean everything. Don't move too fast. Don't tip him off. We're going to nail this man to the wall. I smiled for the first time in days. That's exactly what I was thinking. The next Saturday, I told Derek I was going to get my hair done. He barely looked up from his phone. Have fun, baby. I drove to Bray's office downtown. She'd called in reinforcements. My cousin Carmen was already there, laptop open, coffee in hand. Carmen works in IT security. If there's a digital footprint, she can find it. All right, Carmen said as I sat down. Let's see what this man has been hiding. I gave her Derek's information, his email, his phone number, the fact that he was on my family phone plan. She started typing, her fingers flying across the keyboard. His iCloud, she said. He's on your plan, which means I can access his backup, photos, text messages, location history, everything. Within an hour, we had it all, and it was worse than I thought. The text messages came first. Derek had been talking to someone named Simone for 6 months. The messages made me want to throw up. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Soon we'll have our own place. Victoria's bonus hits in June. Then I'm out. She doesn't suspect anything. She's too busy working. I read that last one 3 times. She doesn't suspect anything. She's too busy working. Like my dedication to my career, my hard work, the money I brought home to support us both, that was somehow a weakness. Something to exploit. Then Carmen pulled up the photos. Derek and Simone in hotel rooms. Derek and Simone at romantic dinners. Derek and Simone in what I now recognized as that apartment downtown, the one he'd rented with my stolen credit. She was young, maybe early 30s, pretty, light-skinned with long hair. In several photos, she was wearing jewelry, expensive jewelry. The jewelry Derek bought with $4,800 of my money. I looked at those photos and felt something shift inside me. The hurt was still there, but it was hardening into something else, something colder, something more useful, anger. Carmen kept digging. She found Simone's social media. The woman had an Instagram full of cryptic posts about waiting for her king and real love being worth the wait. She'd posted photos of herself in expensive clothes and jewelry, never showing Derek's face, but always hinting at a man who was changing her life. One post from 2 weeks ago said, "Some women think they have it all, but they don't even know what's happening in their own home." She was talking about me, this woman who was wearing my jewelry, living in an apartment I paid for, sleeping with my husband. She was posting shade about me. But the worst part, the part that made everything click into place, was the location history. Every client dinner Derek claimed to be at, he was at Simone's apartment. Every late-night property showing, he was at a hotel with her. Every Saturday he said he was doing open houses, he was with her, building their life, planning their future. For 6 months my husband had been living a double life, and I had funded every single minute of it. Bray looked at me across the table. "What do you want to do, Vic?" "I want to destroy him," I said. "But I want to do it smart. I want to do it in a way he never sees coming." Bray nodded slowly. "Then let's talk strategy." We spent the next 3 hours planning. Carmen would create a video compilation, all the texts scrolling across the screen, all the photos, all the financial evidence showing exactly how much Derek had stolen. His voice from calls Simone had recorded and posted on her private story. 12 minutes of undeniable truth. Bree would handle the legal side. She'd prepare divorce papers in secret. She'd file motions to freeze accounts, protect assets. She'd make sure that when I was ready to move, Derek wouldn't be able to touch a single dollar of my money. And me, I would keep playing the perfect wife. I would keep planning the anniversary party. I would keep smiling and cooking dinner and kissing him goodnight. And then, at that party, in front of everyone who thought Derek Lawson was a good man, I would show them who he really was. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was dealing with. I needed to know the full scope of his betrayal. So I went to see my Aunt Ruby. Aunt Ruby raised me after my mother passed. She's 68 years old and sharp as a tack. She never liked Derek. Said something about him seemed off. I didn't listen. I thought she was just being protective. Turns out she was right all along. I sat at her kitchen table, the same table where I'd done homework as a little girl, and I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her face getting harder with every word. When I finished, she reached across and took my hand. "Baby," she said, "your mama would be heartbroken if she saw this, but she'd also be proud of how you're handling it. You're not falling apart, you're fighting back. That's the woman she raised. I need to ask you something, Auntie," I said. "Can I store some documents here? I don't want them in my house." She nodded. "Bring everything. And Victoria, when you're ready to leave that house, you come straight here. This is your home. It always has been." I drove back to my house that night feeling something I hadn't felt in days. Strength. I wasn't alone. I had Bree. I had Carmen. I had Aunt Ruby. I had a plan. And Derek had no idea what was coming. Over the next few weeks, I kept gathering evidence. Every conversation I had with Derek, I recorded. Our state is one-party consent. As long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, it's legal. That person was me. I recorded him lying about where he was. I recorded him talking about his commission that was always coming. I recorded him telling me he loved me, knowing now that those words meant nothing. And I watched. I watched him text Simone from our bedroom. I watched him take calls in the garage, thinking I couldn't hear. I watched him look at me with what I now recognized as contempt disguised as affection. He was counting down the days until my bonus. Until he could take what he needed and leave. But I was counting down too. To the anniversary party. To the moment everything changed. 8 weeks. That's how long I had to wait. 8 weeks of smiling. 8 weeks of lying. 8 weeks of sleeping next to a man who was planning to destroy my life. I could do it. I'd already survived this long. 8 more weeks was nothing. And at the end of those 8 weeks, Derek Lawson was going to learn what happens when you try to play a woman who plays for a living. 3 weeks before the party, Derek finally sent me his guest list. He'd been putting it off for weeks, always saying he was still confirming with people. Now I knew why. I sat at my desk at work, scrolling through the names. His mother, Gwendolyn, his colleagues from the brokerage, his church friends, his college buddies. And then I saw it. Simone Parks. Potential buyer networking. I read that name 3 times. Then I laughed out loud. Actually laughed. My husband had invited his mistress to our anniversary party. The audacity, the absolute audacity of this man. He was going to stand in my house in front of 200 people and give a speech about how much he loved me, and the woman he was cheating with was going to be there watching. He wanted her there. He wanted her to see him play the devoted husband, to see the life she was supposedly upgrading to feel special that she was in on the secret. What Derek didn't understand was that he'd just handed me the perfect ending to my story. I called Carmen immediately. "Change of plans," I said. "She's going to be there." "Who's Simone?" Derek invited her to the anniversary party. Carmen was silent for a moment. "Girl?" He did not. He did. "She's on the guest list. Potential buyer networking. That's his cover story. So she's going to be standing there when you play the video." I smiled. "She's going to be standing there watching herself on screen, in front of everyone she thinks she's better than." Carmen let out a low whistle. "Victoria." This is going to be legendary. I spent the next few days refining the plan. Every detail had to be perfect. The video needed to be devastating. The timing had to be exact. The evidence had to be undeniable. I met with Bray again. We went over the legal protections. The divorce papers were ready waiting for my signature. The asset protection motions were drafted. Everything I'd built over our marriage was secured in my name. The house, the cars, the retirement accounts. See? Derek thought he was smart. He thought because he was the man, because his name was on some documents, he had claim to everything. But he forgot who handles the finances in our house. He forgot who made the payments. He forgot who actually owned things. The house was in my name. I made the down payment. I paid 80% of the mortgage for 10 years. In our state, that means something. The cars were in my name, my credit, my loans, my property, and the $67,000 in debt he created. Those cards were fraud, identity theft, criminal charges waiting to happen. Derek Lawson thought he was going to walk away from this marriage with half of everything I owned. He was wrong. He was going to walk away with nothing. But I didn't just want financial victory. I wanted him exposed. I wanted everyone who ever shook his hand at church, every colleague who respected him, every family member who defended him. I wanted them all to see who Derek Lawson really was. The anniversary party was my stage. 200 witnesses, his mistress in the audience, and 12 minutes of truth he couldn't deny. 2 weeks before the party, I went to see Pastor Patricia. Not my regular pastor. He and Derek were too close. But Pastor Patricia was different. She ran a women's ministry at a church across town. Bree had introduced us years ago. I told her everything. Not for advice, not for permission. I just needed someone to pray over me before I did what I was about to do. Pastor Patricia listened. When I finished, she took my hands and looked me in the eyes. "Victoria," she said, "God doesn't call you to be a fool. He doesn't call you to stay silent while someone destroys you. You've been a good wife. You've been faithful and hardworking and loyal. That man violated sacred vows. He stole from you. He lied to you. And now you're going to hold him accountable." She squeezed my hands. "Go do what you need to do. I'll be praying for you. And when it's over, you come back here. We'll help you heal." I left that meeting feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Peace. Not because what I was about to do was easy. It wasn't. Not because I wasn't scared. I was terrified. But because I knew deep in my soul that I was doing the right thing. I was standing up for myself. I was refusing to be a victim. I was taking back my power from a man who thought he could take everything. The week before the party, I did my final preparations. I moved money into new accounts Derek didn't know about. I secured copies of every important document at Aunt Ruby's house. I confirmed the video was ready loaded onto a USB drive that sat in my purse like a grenade with the pin half pulled. I got my hair done, fresh locks, beautiful and regal. I bought a new dress, red, bold, the color of power, and I practiced my speech. Not the speech I'd give at the party, the speech I'd give after. The words I'd say when Derek tried to explain, tried to minimize, tried to lie. "I'm a forensic accountant. I find the truth for a living. Did you really think you could hide from me?" The night before the party, I lay in bed next to Derek. He was scrolling his phone, probably texting Simone, probably telling her how excited he was for her to be there tomorrow. I looked at his profile in the glow of the screen. The face I'd loved for 10 years, the face I'd trusted, the face of a stranger. Tomorrow everything changes, I thought. He'll never see it coming. I closed my eyes and slept better than I had in months, ready, prepared, at peace with what was about to happen. In 12 hours, Derek Lawson's whole world was going to collapse, and he was going to watch it happen in front of everyone he ever wanted to impress. That's the thing about playing games with someone who plays for a living. Eventually, you lose. And Derek was about to lose everything. For the next 8 weeks, I became the greatest actress of my life. Every morning, I woke up next to a man I now despised and smiled at him like nothing was wrong. Every evening, I cooked dinner for a man who was planning to leave me and asked about his day like I actually cared. Every night, I lay in bed next to a man who was texting his mistress and pretended to be asleep. It was exhausting, but it was necessary. See, Derek thought he was in control. He thought his little plan was working perfectly. He'd gotten away with the credit cards. He'd gotten away with the affair. He'd gotten away with everything for 6 months. In his mind, he was untouchable. That arrogance, that was his weakness. The more confident he got, the sloppier he became. He stopped hiding his phone. He stopped making excuses for his late nights. He stopped pretending to be interested in our marriage, because why would he? In his mind, he was almost free. I used that against him. One night in March, about 6 weeks before the party, Derek came home around 11. I was sitting on the couch pretending to watch TV. He walked in smelling like perfume. Not even trying to hide it anymore. "Hey, baby," I said sweetly. "Long day?" "Yeah," he said, barely looking at me. "Client dinner ran late. You know how it is." I do know how it is, I thought. I know exactly how it is. I got up and walked over to him, wrapped my arms around his neck, kissed him on the cheek. He stiffened slightly, surprised by the affection. "I'm so proud of you," I said. "Working so hard for us. Your commission is going to come through any day now. I can feel it." He relaxed, smiled that fake smile of his. "Thanks, baby. It's coming. Real soon." Oh, I knew something was coming, just not what he thought. The next morning I made him breakfast, eggs, bacon, toast, his favorite. He looked at me with something like confusion. "What's all this for? Can't a wife make her husband breakfast?" I smiled. "I just appreciate you, that's all. 10 years is a long time. I want you to know I don't take you for granted." He actually looked uncomfortable. For a split second, I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt, maybe. Or maybe just annoyance that I was making it harder for him to hate me. "Thanks, Vic," he said quietly. "That means a lot. It should, I thought. It's the last meal I'll ever cook for you." Those weeks were a masterclass in deception. Every conversation was strategic. Every interaction was calculated. I studied Derek like he was a case file, noting his patterns, his habits, his tells. He always checked his phone in the bathroom. He thought the running water covered the sound of his typing. It didn't. He always stepped outside to take calls from Simone. He thought I didn't notice. I did. He always got tense when his mother called. She knew about the affair. She was helping him plan his exit. She'd been taking my money for 2 years, $500 a month, and she'd never said a word to me about her son's betrayal. Mama Gwen was coming to the anniversary party too. She'd been talking about it for weeks. My son's big celebration, she called it. Like she had anything to do with it. Like she'd contributed a single dollar to our marriage. That woman had lived off my generosity for years. I paid for her medications. I drove her to doctor's appointments. I cooked her Sunday dinners and listened to her criticize everything I did. She told Derek I worked too much, that I wasn't feminine enough, that I didn't appreciate him properly, all while cashing the checks I wrote and eating the food I bought. She was going to be at that party too, right next to her precious son when the truth came out. I couldn't wait to see her face. As the weeks passed, I gathered more evidence. Every lie Derek told I documented. Every time he said he was somewhere he wasn't, I noted it. Every suspicious charge on the credit cards I screenshotted. My file was getting thick. My case was getting stronger. And Derek had no idea. One night, about a month before the party, we were lying in bed. Derek was scrolling his phone, probably texting Simone. I was pretending to read a book. "Baby," he said suddenly. "You excited about the party?" I looked up. "Of course. 10 years is a milestone. I want everyone to see how far we've come." He nodded, not really listening. "It's going to be great. Everyone's going to be there." "Everyone I thought, including your mistress." "Is your mom excited?" I asked innocently. "Oh yeah," he said. "She's been talking about it nonstop, already picked out her outfit." I bet she has, I thought. I bet she wants to look good when her son publicly celebrates the wife he's about to abandon. "What about your work people?" I continued. "They coming." "Most of them. And I invited a few potential clients, too." "Networking, you know? Networking. That's what he called bringing his side piece to our anniversary party. Networking. That's smart, I said. Always building the business. He smiled. You know me. Always hustling. Oh, I knew him all right. I knew him better than he'd ever know himself. That night, after he fell asleep, I lay there in the dark, listening to him breathe. This man I'd shared a bed with for 10 years. This man I'd trusted with everything. This man who was planning to destroy me. 4 more weeks, I told myself. 4 more weeks of this performance. 4 more weeks of smiling and pretending and playing the fool. And then he would learn what happens when you underestimate a woman who finds hidden truths for a living. I closed my eyes and dreamed of his face when the video started playing. The shock, the horror, the realization that everything he thought he'd gotten away with was about to be exposed. It was a beautiful dream. 3 weeks before the party, I called an emergency meeting of my sister circle. Bree's law office, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. sharp. Carmen was already there when I arrived, her laptop open, coffee steaming. Bree had cleared her conference table and laid out legal pads, highlighters, and a bottle of wine. It was 9 in the morning, but she said we might need it. She was right. All right, ladies, Bree said once I sat down. Let's go over everything. Victoria. Where are we with the evidence? I pulled out my folder. 3 inches thick. Every piece of documentation I'd gathered over the past 2 months. Credit reports showing the fraudulent accounts. Bank statements showing the transfers. Screenshots of Derek's text messages with Simone. Photos from his iCloud. Location data proving every lie he'd told. Credit card receipts for hotels, jewelry restaurants, the apartment. Carmen had organized everything into a timeline. She projected it onto the wall. January through June of last year, she began. Derek opens the first credit card in Victoria's name. $15,000 limit. He uses it for cash advances and online purchases. Victoria doesn't know because the statements go to his email. She clicked to the next slide. September, he opens the second card. $25,000. This one he uses for the apartment deposit furniture and what looks like gifts for Simone. Again, statements going to an email address Victoria doesn't have access to. Another click. February of this year, the third card. $27,000. This one's almost maxed out. Hotels, jewelry store, that women's boutique, restaurant after restaurant after restaurant. I looked at those numbers and felt sick all over again. $67,000. My credit, my name, my future. But Carmen wasn't done. Now let's look at the joint account, she said. The one you both have access to. She pulled up the bank statements going back 3 years. Victoria, your direct deposits for the past 36 months total $487,000 after taxes. I nodded. That sounded right. 12 years at my firm's senior position, good salary plus bonuses. Derek's deposits for the same period. She paused for effect. $42,000. Total. Over 3 years. Bree let out a low whistle. So she deposited almost $500,000 and he deposited $42,000. And that's being generous. Carmen continued. Most of that $42,000 was in the first year. He hasn't deposited anything substantial in 18 months. He's been living entirely off Victoria's income. But wait, I said. What about his commissions? He's always talking about deals closing. Carmen pulled up another document. I looked into his brokerage account. He has access because he's on your phone plan and his login credentials were saved. She shook her head. Victoria Derek hasn't closed a real estate deal in 8 months. His last commission was $11,000, and that was split with another agent. His broker has him on probation for underperformance. 8 months. 8 months he'd been pretending to work while I paid for everything. There's more, Carmen said. She pulled up transaction records. Derek has been transferring money from your joint account to a personal account you don't have access to. Small amounts at first. $200 here, $300 there. But over the past year, it's added up to almost $12,000. Bray's eyes went wide. That's embezzlement from a joint account. That's theft. And there's more, Carmen said. She pulled up another set of records. Remember those monthly payments to his mother? I nodded. Mama Gwen's medicine money. I thought it was coming from Derek's commission. It wasn't, Carmen said flatly. $500 a month for the past 2 years. That's $12,000 coming directly from the joint account, from your deposits. I felt my hands start to shake. So his mother, I said slowly. His mother has been taking my money for 2 years, and she knew about the affair the whole time. Carmen nodded. I found texts between Derek and Mama Gwen. She knows everything. She's been helping him plan this. She told him to wait until after your bonus hits to leave. Her exact words were, "Get what you can before you go." The room went silent. I had fed that woman, driven her to appointments, listened to her complain about me to my face, and the whole time she was helping her son steal from me and plan his escape. Bree reached across and took my hand. "Victoria, this is criminal. Identity theft. Fraud. Theft by deception. We could have him arrested." I shook my head. "Not yet. I want him exposed first. I want everyone to see who he really is before the legal system gets involved. Then let's make sure the video is perfect," Bray said. "Carmen, show her what you've put together." Carmen pulled up the video file. 12 minutes of undeniable truth. The first section showed the text messages. They scrolled across the screen, one after another. Derek telling Simone he couldn't wait to leave me. Derek calling me boring and cold. Derek planning their future together with my money. The second section showed the photos. Hotel rooms, romantic dinners, the apartment. Simone wearing the jewelry he bought with my credit card. The third section was the financial evidence. Credit card statements. Bank transfers. The apartment lease with both their names on it. Graphics showing exactly how much money Derek had stolen. The fourth section was audio. Carmen had pulled recordings from Simone's social media. Videos she'd posted on her private story thinking no one would save them. Derek's voice clear as day talking about me. "Victoria's boring. All she does is work. Simone understands me. She sees the real me. Once I get her bonus, I'm gone. She'll never find out until it's too late." The final section showed Simone's social media posts. All her cryptic quotes about waiting for her king. Her shade about women who don't know what's happening in their own homes. Her photos wearing my jewelry, living in my apartment, sleeping with my husband. And then the kicker, a photo from the anniversary party guest list. Simone Parks, potential buyer networking. Text on screen, "She's at the party right now. Derek invited her." When the video ended, the room was silent. Bree spoke first. "Victoria, this is going to destroy him. I know, I said." "That's the point." Carmen closed her laptop. "What about the legal side? We need to make sure Victoria's protected." Bray pulled out her own folder. "Already done. I've drafted divorce papers citing irreconcilable differences and financial misconduct. I've prepared motions to freeze all joint accounts pending investigation. I've documented the identity theft for potential criminal charges." She looked at me. "The house is in your name. You made the down payment with inherited funds. You've paid 80% of the mortgage for 10 years. In this state, that's separate property. The cars are both in your name. Your credit, your loans, your retirement accounts are primarily funded by your contributions." She paused. "Victoria, when this is over, Derek walks away with nothing. Legally, he has no claim to anything you've built, and with the evidence of fraud, he'll be lucky if he doesn't end up in prison." I nodded slowly, taking it all in. For 10 years, I thought we were partners. I thought we were building something together. Turns out, I was building alone, and he was just waiting to take what I built. But not anymore. "What about timing?" I asked. "When do we file?" Bree smiled. "I'll have the papers ready to serve the morning after the party. Let him have his night of public humiliation first, then hit him with the legal reality. By Monday morning, his accounts will be frozen and his life will be over." I looked at my sister's circle. These women who had dropped everything to help me, who had spent hours gathering evidence, building cases, preparing for war. "I love you all," I said. "I couldn't do this without you." Carmen grinned. "Girl, please. We've been waiting for you to wake up about this man for years." Bree nodded. "We got you, Vic. Now let's go take your life back." I needed to understand who this woman was, the woman my husband had chosen over me, the woman he was willing to destroy his marriage for, the woman who thought she had already won. Carmen had pulled everything she could find. Simone Parks, 32 years old, 6 years younger than me, called herself a lifestyle influencer on social media, which apparently meant posting photos of herself and hoping brands would pay her for it. They mostly didn't. She had 3,000 followers. That's not influence. That's just an audience. She lived with a roommate in a modest apartment across town. No car payment because she didn't have a car. No real income that Carmen could trace. Whatever money she had seemed to come from men like my husband. Derek had been showing her properties for 6 months. That's how they met. She said she was looking to buy, which was laughable given her financial situation. But Derek didn't know that. Or maybe he didn't care. Maybe he saw a pretty young woman who looked at him like he was something special, and that was enough. I spent an evening going through her social media. Every post, every story, every comment. She was the kind of woman who posted motivational quotes over photos of herself in tight dresses. The kind who hashtagged blessed under pictures of things other people bought her. The kind who thought being pretty was a career plan. But what really got under my skin was how she talked about me. She never used my name. But I was there. In every passive-aggressive post about women who don't know their place. In every quote about real queens recognizing real kings. In every story about how some women don't appreciate what they have. One post from a few weeks ago said, "Some women work so hard at their careers, they forget to work on their men. Don't be surprised when he finds someone who actually sees him." She was talking about me, blaming me for my husband's affair. Like it was my fault for having a job. Like I drove him away by being successful. Another post said, "If you have to trap a man with money and houses, you don't have him at all. Real love doesn't need a contract." This woman was wearing jewelry my money paid for, sleeping in an apartment my credit funded, and she had the audacity to post about how real love doesn't need money. I wanted to be angry at her. Part of me was. But mostly I just felt sorry for her. She didn't know. She didn't know that Derek hadn't worked in 8 months. She didn't know the apartment was paid for with stolen credit cards. She didn't know the jewelry, the dinners, the gifts, all of it came from me. Derek had sold her a fantasy. A successful real estate agent with a beautiful home who just needed the right woman to appreciate him. He told her I was controlling and cold. He told her our marriage was already over. He told her she was his future. She believed him, just like I believed him 10 years ago. The difference was I was about to show her the truth. And unlike me, she was going to learn it in front of 200 people. One night, about 2 weeks before the party, I drove by the apartment, the one Derek had rented for them. I didn't stop. I just wanted to see it. It was a nice building. Modern. The kind of place young professionals lived. I parked across the street and watched the windows. Around 9 o'clock I saw them. Derek's car pulled into the garage. 20 minutes later, a light came on in a unit on the 3rd floor. I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. They were in there, playing house, pretending they had a future, using my money to build their little fantasy. I sat in my car for an hour watching that light, thinking about all the nights Derek told me he was working late, all the client dinners and property showings, all the lies. He was here, every time, with her, while I sat at home paying his bills and believing his stories. Something shifted in me that night. The last bit of hurt burned away, and all that was left was cold, clear purpose. I wasn't doing this for revenge anymore. I was doing this for me, for the woman I used to be before I met Derek, for the woman I was going to become after I left him. He didn't deserve my tears. He didn't deserve my anger. He didn't even deserve my hate. He just deserved to be exposed, to have his mask ripped off in front of everyone he'd ever fooled, to face the consequences of his choices. And Simone, she was collateral damage. She'd made her choices too. She knew he was married. She knew she was the other woman. She posted about it like it was something to be proud of. She wanted to be seen fine. I'd make sure everyone saw her. The night before I drove to the apartment, I'd had a long conversation with my Aunt Ruby. We sat on her porch drinking sweet tea, watching the sunset. "Baby," she said, "I know you're hurt. I know you want him to pay. But I need you to be honest with yourself about something." "What's that, Auntie?" She looked at me with those wise eyes. When this is over, when the party happens and the truth comes out and everybody knows what he did, what then? What do you want your life to look like? I thought about it for a long moment. I want peace, I said finally. I want to wake up in the morning and not wonder where my husband really was last night. I want to come home to a house that's mine, not ours. I want to build a life that nobody can take from me. She nodded slowly. Then make sure everything you do gets you closer to that, she said. Don't get lost in the revenge. Use it to set yourself free. There's a difference. I carried those words with me, through the planning, through the waiting, through the performance of being Derek's loving wife. This wasn't about hurting him. This was about freeing myself. The hurt he would feel, that was just a bonus. 2 weeks before the party, Derek started getting nervous. I could see it. Little things. The way he checked his phone constantly. The way he jumped when I walked into a room. The way he looked at me sometimes like he was trying to figure out if I knew. He was getting cold feet. Not about leaving me. About the timing. About whether he could really pull this off. I made sure to put him at ease. "Baby," I said one evening, "I am so excited about this party. 10 years. Can you believe it? We've built such a beautiful life together." He relaxed visibly. "Yeah," he said. "It's going to be great." I smiled at him. "And next year is going to be even better. I can feel it. Big things coming for us." He nodded, not meeting my eyes. Big things. Yeah. Oh, big things were coming all right. Just not the kind he was imagining. That night, after he fell asleep, I lay in the dark and ran through the plan one more time. The party, the speech, the video, the confrontation. Bray had the divorce papers ready. Carmen had the evidence backed up in 3 different locations. Aunt Ruby had a room prepared for me for when I walked out of that house for the last time. Everything was in place. All I had to do was wait. The Sunday before the party, Mama Gwen came over for dinner, our usual routine. Every Sunday for the past 5 years, I cooked a full meal for Derek's mother. Fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, the works. She'd sit at my table, eat my food, drink my wine, and find something to complain about. The chicken was too salty. The greens needed more seasoning. The cornbread was dry. Nothing I did was ever good enough for the woman whose son was stealing from me. But this Sunday was different. This Sunday I knew the truth, and I had to sit across from her and pretend I didn't. Victoria Mama Gwen said as she took her seat, "You look tired. You working too much again?" "Just busy with party planning," I said sweetly. "I want everything to be perfect." She made a dismissive sound. "All this fuss for a party. In my day, we didn't need all that. A nice dinner at home was enough." "Well," I said, smiling through my teeth, 10 years is worth celebrating. Don't you think?" She shrugged. "I suppose. My Harold and I were married 42 years before he passed. Now that was something to celebrate." She said it like my 10 years was nothing. Like I hadn't earned the right to be proud of my marriage, coming from a woman who knew her son was cheating, who was helping him plan his escape, who was taking $500 a month of my money while smiling in my face. I served her plate, watched her eat, listened to her talk about Derek like he was some kind of saint. "My son works so hard," she said between bites. "That real estate business is demanding. He's always running around showing properties, meeting clients." I nodded. "He really does work hard. You need to appreciate him more, Victoria." She pointed her fork at me. "A man needs to feel appreciated. If you don't make him feel like a king in his own home, he'll find somewhere else to feel that way." I almost laughed out loud. This woman was literally telling me that if my husband cheated, it was my fault, while knowing he was already cheating, while helping him do it. "You're right, Mama Gwen," I said. "I need to do better." She nodded, satisfied with herself. "Good girl. Now what time does this party start on Saturday, 6 o'clock?" I said. "And you're sitting at the head table right next to us." "As it should be," she said. "I want to see my son celebrated properly." "Oh, you'll see something all right," I thought. "You'll see exactly who your son is." After dinner, Derek walked his mother to her car. I watched them through the kitchen window as I washed dishes. They were talking heads close together. Mama Gwen was saying something and Derek was nodding, probably going over the plan. probably making sure everything was in place for his big escape. What they didn't know was that I had a plan too, and mine was better. The week of the party, I went into overdrive. Monday, I finalized the catering. 300 pieces of chicken, 200 servings of sides, a 3-tier cake. Tuesday, I confirmed the DJ and the photographer. I wanted everything documented. Wednesday, I did a final walkthrough of the house and backyard. Checked the tent, the lighting, the dance floor. Thursday, I met with Carmen one last time. We tested the video on the projector, made sure it would play smoothly, made sure everyone in that backyard would be able to see and hear every word. Friday, I got my hair done. Fresh locks styled beautifully. I wanted to look like a queen when I took back my throne. That night, Derek was nervous. He kept pacing around the house, checking his phone, starting sentences and not finishing them. "You okay, baby?" I asked innocently. "Yeah," he said, "just anxious about tomorrow. Want everything to go well." "It will," I said. "I've planned every detail. All you have to do is show up and give your speech." He nodded, not really listening. "Yeah, my speech." I'd seen his speech. He'd left it open on his laptop one night. 5 minutes of lies about how much he loved me, how I was his best friend, how he couldn't imagine life without me. He was going to stand in front of 200 people and lie through his teeth, and then he was going to watch me destroy every word. That last night I barely slept, not from nervousness, from anticipation. I lay in bed running through everything one more time. The timeline, the cues, the moment I'd press play. Derek was snoring beside me, peaceful, confident, sure that tomorrow would go exactly as he planned. Poor thing. He had no idea. At around 3 a.m., I got up and went to the living room, sat on my couch in my house that I paid for, looked around at the life I'd built, the art on the walls, I picked it out, the furniture, I bought it, the mortgage, I paid it. Every inch of this home represented my work, my sacrifice, my success. And Derek thought he could just take it. Thought he could steal from me, cheat on me, and walk away with half of everything. He was wrong. Tomorrow, I was taking it all back. My money, my dignity, my life. I watched the sun come up through the living room windows. The day had finally arrived. Saturday morning, anniversary party day. The day Derek Lawson would learn what happens when you underestimate a woman who finds the truth for a living. I smiled as the light filled the room. Let the games begin. The morning of the party, I woke up before Derek, made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and went through my checklist one final time. Video loaded on USB drive in my purse. Check. Remote control for projector in my clutch. Check. Bury on speed dial with divorce papers ready. Check. Carmen as tech backup if anything went wrong. Check. Aunt Ruby's house ready for me to move into tonight. Check. New bank accounts with my money safely transferred. Check. I was ready. Months of planning had led to this day. Every detail accounted for. Every contingency prepared. Derek came downstairs around 9. He looked tired, distracted. Probably been up late texting Simone. "Big day," he said, pouring himself coffee. "The biggest," I agreed. He looked at me for a long moment. Something in his expression I couldn't quite read. "Victoria," he said slowly, "I just want you to know, these 10 years, they've meant a lot to me." For a second, just a second, I wondered if he was going to confess. If he was going to come clean right there in our kitchen the morning of our anniversary party. But then his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and whatever moment might have existed disappeared. "I gotta take this," he said. "Work stuff." He walked outside to the backyard. Through the window, I could see him smiling, laughing, talking animatedly into the phone. Work stuff. Right. Simone was probably confirming she was coming tonight. Probably excited to see him play devoted husband. Probably already planning what she'd wear to watch him pretend to love me. The caterers arrived at 2. I directed them to the backyard, showed them where to set up. The DJ came at 3, the photographer at 4. By 5:30, the house was transformed. White lights strung across the backyard, a tent covering the dance floor, tables with gold centerpieces, a bar stocked with champagne. $30,000, all my money. all to create the perfect stage for Derek's downfall. At 5:45, I went upstairs to get dressed. The red dress was hanging in my closet. I'd bought it specifically for tonight. Bold, powerful, the color of fire. I did my makeup carefully. Red lipstick to match the dress. Winged eyeliner, highlighter on my cheekbones. I wanted to glow. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a woman scorned. I saw a woman in control, a woman who knew exactly what she was about to do, a woman who was ready. Derek knocked on the bathroom door. "Babe, you almost ready? People are starting to arrive." 2 minutes, I called back. I took one last look at myself. This is it, Victoria, I thought. No turning back now. I picked up my clutch. The remote control was inside. The USB drive was in my purse downstairs, already connected to the projector. I opened the door and walked out to meet my husband. He was standing in the hallway in his new suit, navy blue, expensive, probably charged to one of my credit cards. "Wow," he said when he saw me. "You look amazing." "Thank you," I said. "So do you." He offered me his arm. "Shall we?" I took it, smiled at him, let him lead me downstairs. The backyard was filling up. I could see Bree near the bar watching me. She gave a subtle nod. Everything was in place. Carmen was by the DJ booth where the projector was set up. She caught my eye and tapped her pocket. The backup USB was ready if we needed it. Aunt Ruby was sitting at a table near the front, dignified and calm. She knew what was coming. She was ready to take me home afterward. Pastor Patricia had come too. She sat near the back, hands folded, praying silently. I'd asked her to be there. Whatever happened, I wanted her blessing. And then I saw her, Simone. She was standing near the bar trying to blend in, wearing a white dress. White, to another woman's anniversary party, like she was the bride. She was young, pretty, nervous, looking around the party like she didn't quite know where she belonged. She spotted Derek across the yard. Their eyes met. Just for a second. A secret look between them that no one else was supposed to notice. But I noticed. I noticed everything. Derek squeezed my hand. Ready to do this, I squeezed back. Absolutely. For the next 2 hours, I played my role perfectly. I greeted guests. I accepted congratulations. I posed for photos with my husband smiling like my heart wasn't broken. People kept telling us how beautiful we looked together, how lucky we were, how inspiring our marriage was, if only they knew. At 8 o'clock, the DJ called for everyone's attention. Derek and I made our way to the small stage we'd set up near the projector screen. "Ladies and gentlemen," the DJ announced, "please give it up for our guests of honor tonight. 10 years married, Mr. and Mrs. Derek Lawson." Applause filled the backyard. 200 people clapping for a marriage that was built on lies. Derek took the microphone first. This was his moment. His speech about how much he loved me. I stood beside him smiling, waiting. The remote control was in my hand, hidden in the folds of my dress. He cleared his throat and began. 10 years, he said. 10 years with this amazing woman. It hasn't always been easy, but Victoria has been my rock, my supporter, my everything. He looked at me with what was supposed to be love. I looked back with what I hoped looked like adoration. "She works so hard," he continued. "Sometimes too hard." She paused and the crowd laughed. "But everything she does for us. For our family. For our future." Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Simone watching. A small smile on her face. She thought this was all for show. She thought she knew the truth. She was about to learn what truth really meant. Baby Derek said, turning to face me fully, "I love you. Here's to 10 more years. Here's to forever." He raised his champagne glass. The crowd raised theirs. To Victoria, he said, "The best thing that ever happened to me." Everyone drank. Everyone cheered. And then it was my turn. Derek handed me the microphone. He was smiling, confident, sure that everything was going according to plan. I looked out at the crowd, at Mama Gwen in the front row, beaming with pride, at Simone near the back, still wearing that smug smile, at Bree and Carmen ready for what came next, at Aunt Ruby, her eyes full of love and strength. I took a deep breath. "Thank you, baby," I said. "That was beautiful." The crowd murmured in appreciation. You know, I continued, Derek is right. These 10 years haven't been easy. I've worked hard, very hard. Some might say too hard. Polite laughter. But I've learned so much in this marriage. About trust. About loyalty. About what partnership really means. I paused. The crowd was listening. I'm a forensic accountant, I said. For those who don't know, that means I find things. Hidden things. Things people don't want found. A few confused looks. Derek's smile flickered. And recently, I've been working on a very special project. A personal audit, you might say. I reached into my clutch and pulled out the remote. Derek, baby, I said, looking right at him. I made you a video. He smiled, still not understanding. The crowd awed, thinking it was romantic. I want to share it with everyone tonight, I said, because I think it's important for people to see the truth. I turned toward the projector screen. 10 years, everyone, I said. Let me show you what 10 years really looks like. I pressed play. The screen flickered to life. 200 faces turned toward it, champagne glasses frozen in mid-air. The first thing that appeared was a title card. Simple white text on a black background. 10 years. A love audit. A few people laughed nervously. They thought it was going to be a cute montage. Photos of our wedding, vacation memories, a romantic tribute. They were wrong. Derek was standing next to me. I could feel his body tense as the screen changed. The first section was the text messages, screenshots scrolling slowly so everyone could read them. From Derek to Simone, dated 3 months ago. Can't wait to see you tonight, baby. Miss you already. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Derek's face went white. Another text. Soon we'll have our own place. Just a few more months. And another. Victoria's bonus hits in June. Then I'm out. And another. She doesn't suspect anything. She's too busy working. The crowd was silent now. 200 people reading my husband's affair in real time. I didn't look at Derek. I didn't need to. I could feel his panic radiating off him like heat. The second section started. Photos. Derek and Simone in a hotel room. She was in a robe. He was shirtless. They were both smiling at the camera. Someone in the crowd said, "Oh my God." More photos. Romantic dinners. Walks in the park. The apartment downtown, the one I'd driven by. They were standing in the living room, his arm around her waist like they were already home. And then the photos of Simone wearing the jewelry. The earrings, the necklace, the bracelet. $4,800 of jewelry that my credit card paid for. I finally looked at Derek. His mouth was opening and closing, but no sound was coming out. He looked like a fish pulled from water, gasping for air. The third section was the financial evidence. This is where the gasps turned to outrage. A graphic appeared on screen. Credit cards opened in Victoria's name without her knowledge. The numbers scrolled. Card 1, $15,000. Card 2, $25,000. Card 3, $27,000. Total debt, $67,000. The screen showed where the money went. Hotel charges, $3,400. Jewelry store, $4,800. Women's clothing, $2,300. Apartment deposit, $3,500. None of it for Victoria. Another graphic. Monthly payments to Gwendolyn Lawson, $500 for 24 months. Total, $12,000. Heads turned toward Mama Gwen. She was sinking into her chair, trying to disappear. One more graphic. Financial contributions to marriage over 10 years. Victoria, $487,000. Derek, $42,000. The numbers hung on the screen. Almost $500,000 from me. Barely $40,000 from him. And he'd stolen $67,000 on top of that. Someone shouted, "Are you kidding me?" Someone else said, "That's criminal." They were right. It was. The fourth section was the audio. This is when Derek finally tried to move. He lunged toward the projector, trying to stop it. But Bree was faster. She stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Don't even think about it," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. Derek stopped. He looked around wildly, searching for an escape. There was none. His voice filled the backyard, clear as day, recorded without him knowing. Victoria's boring his recorded voice said, "All she does is work. She doesn't understand me," the crowd murmured. "Simone understands me." Derek's voice continued. "She sees the real me. She appreciates me." I looked out at the crowd, people I'd known for years, church friends, colleagues, family. They were all staring at Derek with a mix of horror and disgust. One more clip played, the worst one. "Once I get her bonus, I'm gone," Derek's voice said. "She'll never find out until it's too late. By then I'll have everything I need." The recording ended. Silence. And then the final section. Simone's social media. Her Instagram posts appeared on screen. Quote after quote about waiting for her king. Posts about real love being worth the wait. Shade about women who don't know what's happening in their own homes. Photos of her in the jewelry. Photos of her in the apartment. And then the final slide. A screenshot of the anniversary party guest list. Simone Parks. Potential buyer. Networking. Text appeared below it. "She's here tonight. Derek invited her." Every single head in that backyard turned to look for her. Simone was frozen by the bar. Her white dress suddenly looked ridiculous. Her confident smile was gone, replaced by pure terror. She tried to run. She actually tried to run, but people were blocking her path, not intentionally, just crowded in shock. Someone pointed. "That's her. That's the woman." Someone else said she wore white to another woman's anniversary party. The audacity. Simone started crying, actual tears streaming down her face. She looked at Derek, desperate for him to help her, but Derek wasn't looking at her. Derek was looking at me. His face had gone from white to red, humiliation and rage mixing into something ugly. "Victoria," he said, his voice shaking, "how could you do this?" I let the question hang in the air for a moment. Let the irony of it sink in. "How could I do this?" I repeated slowly. "That's really your question right now, after everything I just showed everyone." I handed the microphone to Bray and stepped toward my husband. 200 people watching, cameras recording, the moment I'd been waiting for. "Derek," I said calmly, "you spent $67,000 of my money on another woman. You opened credit cards in my name without my knowledge. You've been planning to leave me for months, timing it so you could take my bonus before you went. And you invited your mistress to our anniversary party." My voice was steady, strong. No tears. "You want to know how I could do this? I'm a forensic accountant. Finding the truth is literally my job. Did you really think you could hide from me?" Derek had no answer. He just stood there exposed, destroyed, with nothing left to say. I turned to face the crowd. "I apologize for the disruption to our evening," I said, "but I thought you all deserved to know the truth about the man you've been celebrating. The man some of you have called a role model, a good husband, a pillar of the community." I paused. "Now you know who he really is." The backyard erupted, people talking over each other, some coming to hug me, some confronting Derek, some just standing in shock. Through it all, I stood calm, centered, free. It was over. 10 years of lies, 6 months of planning, and 12 minutes of truth. Derek Lawson was finished. The chaos that followed was beautiful. Derek was surrounded by people demanding answers. His colleagues, his church friends, people who had trusted him, respected him, believed his lies. "How could you do this?" one of his work buddies said. "We vouched for you. We sent clients your way." Derek couldn't respond. He just kept looking around, searching for someone any way out of the nightmare he'd created for himself. Mama Gwen was trying to leave. She'd grabbed her purse and was pushing through the crowd toward the back gate, but Aunt Ruby was faster. She planted herself right in Mama Gwen's path, arms crossed. "And where do you think you're going?" "Gwendolyn." Mama Gwen tried to push past her. "This is none of your business, Ruby. $12,000 of my niece's money in your pocket makes it my business," Aunt Ruby said. "You've been taking her money for 2 years while your son was cheating on her. You knew everything." People turned to watch. More witnesses to Mama Gwen's shame. I didn't know Mama Gwen protested weekly. I had no idea what my son was doing. Aunt Ruby pulled out her phone. Should I play the texts between you and Derek? The ones where you told him to wait until after Victoria's bonus to leave Mama Gwen's face crumpled. She had nothing left. No defense, no dignity. Carmen appeared beside me. That was incredible, she whispered. The whole thing streamed perfectly. I nodded, not taking my eyes off the scene unfolding before me. It's not over yet. Simone was still trapped near the bar. A group of women had formed a semicircle around her, blocking her exit. Not touching her. Just watching, making her feel every second of her humiliation. You knew he was married, one woman said. You knew this whole time. Simone was crying harder now. He told me they were separated. He told me she didn't love him anymore. And you believed that another woman laughed bitterly. Girl, please. Men lie. That's what they do. And you helped him. I made my way through the crowd toward Simone. People parted for me. The wronged wife approaching the other woman. Simone saw me coming and actually flinched, like she expected me to hit her. I didn't. Violence wasn't my style. Words were much more effective. Simone, I said calmly. Look at me. She raised her tear-stained face. I'm not going to yell at you, I said. I'm not going to fight you. That would be beneath me. Her eyes widened, confused. But I want you to understand something. I continued. Every piece of jewelry you're wearing right now was paid for with my credit card. That apartment Derek told you was his, I funded it. The dinners, the hotels, the gifts, my money, all of it. She started to speak, but I held up my hand. Derek hasn't closed a real estate deal in 8 months, I said. He hasn't made any real money in almost 2 years. Everything he gave you came from me. You weren't dating a successful man. You were dating my bank account. Simone's face changed, the realization hitting her. He told me he was wealthy, she whispered. He told me he bought that apartment. He told you a lot of things, I said, and you believed him without question, just like I did 10 years ago. I leaned in closer. He was never going to leave his wife for you, Simone. He was going to leave his wife's money, and once that was gone, he would have left you too. You were never special. You were just next. I stepped back. Now I suggest you leave my property, before I decide to file charges against you, too. Simone ran. She pushed through the crowd, sobbing, and disappeared into the night. I never saw her again. Derek finally broke free from the crowd surrounding him. He stormed toward me, his face twisted with rage. You destroyed me, he shouted. You humiliated me in front of everyone. Everything is ruined. I stood my ground, didn't flinch, didn't back away. I destroyed you, I repeated. Derek, you destroyed yourself. I just made sure everyone saw it. This isn't over, he said, jabbing his finger toward me. I'll get a lawyer. I'll take everything. I smiled, the calm, confident smile of a woman who has already won. Go ahead and try, I said. Bree has already prepared divorce papers. The house is in my name. The cars are in my name. Every asset we have I paid for. And the $67,000 in credit card debt you created. That's identity theft. That's fraud. That's criminal charges waiting to happen. Derek's face went pale again. You have 2 choices. I continued. Sign the divorce papers quietly and walk away with whatever dignity you have left, or fight me in court where all of this evidence becomes public record. Your colleagues will see it. Future employers will see it. Your family will have to testify. I paused to let that sink in. Your mother took $12,000 of my money. I can sue her for that. Your sister Tasha owes me $8,000 more. I can take her to court too. You want to drag this out, I will bury your entire family in legal fees. Derek was shaking now, not from anger anymore, from fear. What do you want? He asked quietly. I want you gone, I said. I want you out of my house by tomorrow morning. I want you to sign the papers and pay back every penny you stole. And I want you to never contact me again. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. You thought you were playing me, Derek. For 6 months you thought you had me fooled, but I knew everything, every text, every photo, every dollar. I was building this case while you were building your fantasy. I looked him dead in the eyes. I'm a forensic accountant. You tried to commit fraud against a woman who catches fraud for a living. How did you think this was going to end? Derek had no answer. He just stood there broken as the weight of his choices crushed him. Bree appeared beside me, a folder in her hand. Mr. Lawson, she said professionally, I have the divorce papers here. Victoria is requesting no spousal support. She simply wants the marriage dissolved and all assets divided according to documented contributions. Given the evidence of financial misconduct, this is a very generous offer. She handed him the folder. I suggest you take it. The alternative is criminal prosecution for identity theft and fraud. The choice is yours. Derek took the folder with trembling hands. He didn't even open it. He just held it, staring at the ground, defeated. His mother appeared beside him, Aunt Ruby close behind her. We're leaving, Mama, Gwen said, grabbing Derek's arm. Come on, son. They walked toward the back gate, heads down, avoiding eye contact with everyone. 200 people watched them go. As they reached the gate, Mama Gwen turned back and looked at me with pure hatred. You'll regret this, Victoria, she said. God doesn't bless women who destroy families. I walked toward her calm and steady. God doesn't bless women who help their sons steal from their wives either, Gwendolyn. You knew about the affair. You knew about the money. You helped him plan this. You took $12,000 while looking me in my face every Sunday dinner. I stopped right in front of her. You don't get to talk to me about God's blessings. Not today, not ever. Mama Gwen turned and left. Derek followed, shoulders slumped, folder clutched to his chest. I watched them go until they disappeared around the corner. And then finally I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. It was over. Really, truly over. The party didn't end when Derek left. In fact, it transformed into something else entirely. People who had been Derek's friends moments ago were now gathered around me, apologizing for things they never even did. Victoria. I had no idea, one of his co-workers said. He always talked about how happy you two were. We all believed him, another added. I feel like such a fool. I shook my head. You're not the fools. He was. And now everyone knows it. Aunt Ruby found me in the crowd and wrapped me in a hug so tight I could barely breathe. I'm so proud of you, baby girl, she whispered. Your mama is looking down right now, smiling. I let myself sink into that hug. Let myself feel for just a moment the weight of everything I'd carried for the past 6 months. Pastor Patricia made her way through the crowd. She took my hands in hers. How are you feeling, Victoria? She asked gently. I thought about the question. Really thought about it. I feel free, I said, for the first time in years. I feel free. She squeezed my hands. That's the Holy Spirit releasing you from bondage. You did a hard thing tonight, a necessary thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Not everyone at the party was supportive. A few of Derek's closer friends left without saying goodbye. A couple of church members gave me disapproving looks as they gathered their things. One older woman from the congregation approached me, shaking her head. This wasn't the right way to handle it, she said. You should have dealt with this privately. Marriage is sacred. I looked at her calmly. Ma'am, with all due respect, Derek stole $67,000 from me. He committed identity theft. He was planning to take my money and leave. What was I supposed to do? Pray about it quietly while he cleaned out my accounts? She had no answer. She just pursed her lips and walked away. Bree appeared at my side. Don't worry about her. For every person who judges you, there are 20 more who think you're a hero. She gestured to the crowd. People were actually staying, eating, drinking, talking in animated groups about what they'd just witnessed. Your anniversary party has become the most legendary event in this city's history, Bray said with a smile. People are going to talk about this for years. I laughed, an actual laugh, the first real one in months. I guess I did throw a memorable party. As the night went on, I circulated through the remaining guests. Person after person came up to share their support. Derek's colleague's wife pulled me aside. I always knew something was off with him, she confided. He flirted with me at the office Christmas party. I never told anyone because I thought I was overreacting. Another woman, someone from my gym who'd been invited as a +1, grabbed my arm. My sister went through something similar. Her husband had a whole other family across town. I wish she'd had your courage. A young woman I didn't recognize approached me with tears in her eyes. I don't know you, she said. My friend brought me tonight. But what you did up there, that was the bravest thing I've ever seen. I'm in a relationship with a man who lies to me all the time. Watching you tonight made me realize I don't have to accept that. I hugged her, a stranger, and I told her she was right. She didn't have to accept it. Nobody does. Around 11, the DJ started packing up. The caterers began clearing plates. The party was winding down, but I wasn't ready to leave yet. I found a quiet corner of my backyard and sat down. Carmen and Bree joined me each with a glass of champagne. So, Carmen said, how does it feel I took a sip of champagne? The first alcohol I'd had all night. I'd wanted to stay sharp for the confrontation. It feels strange, I admitted. For 6 months I've been planning this moment, and now it's over. I don't know what comes next. What comes next is healing, Bray said. What comes next is building the life you actually want. Without him. I nodded slowly. She was right. This wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Did you see Simone's face when she realized the apartment was paid for with your money? Carmen said, shaking her head. I almost felt sorry for her. I snorted. Almost. She really didn't know. Carmen continued. She thought she was dating a successful real estate agent. She had no idea he was a fraud. That's the thing about conmen, I said. They con everyone. Derek was playing me, playing Simone, playing his mother, playing everyone. He probably believed his own lies at some point. At least it's over now, Bray said. He's exposed. He can't hide anymore. I looked up at the sky. Clear night. Stars visible despite the city lights. You know what the craziest part is, I said. I still loved him. Up until I found those credit cards, I still loved him. I thought we had a good marriage. I thought we were partners. Love doesn't make you blind, Carmen said gently. Trust does. You trusted him and he betrayed that trust. I nodded, and that's what hurt the most. Not the cheating, not the money. The fact that I had given him my complete trust and he had used it against me. But that's over now, Bray said firmly. You took back your power. You exposed the truth. And tomorrow you start fresh. Tomorrow. I hadn't thought about tomorrow. All my energy had been focused on tonight. What are you going to do? Carmen asked. Stay here. I shook my head. No, this house has too many memories. I'm going to stay with Aunt Ruby for a while, figure out what I want. And Derek Bree smiled. I'm having the papers served Monday morning. He has 30 days to sign. If he doesn't, we go to court with all this evidence. He'll sign. I looked around my backyard, the tent, the lights, the remnants of what was supposed to be a celebration of my marriage. This is the last party I'll ever throw in this house, I said quietly. Then let's make sure it was a good one, Carmen said, raising her glass. Bree raised hers too. I clinked my glass against theirs. To new beginnings, I said. To new beginnings, they echoed. We sat there in the quiet, drinking champagne, watching the last guests trickle out. My sister circle, my support system, the women who had helped me plan, prepare, and execute the most important confrontation of my life. I couldn't have done this without them. I wouldn't have wanted to. Some battles you have to fight alone, but it sure helps to have your sister standing behind you. 3 months later, I was sitting on the porch of my new condo watching the sunset. Everything had changed. Everything. Derek signed the divorce papers 2 weeks after the party. He didn't fight. He couldn't afford to. His lawyer took one look at the evidence and told him to take whatever deal I offered. I was generous, more generous than he deserved. I didn't ask for spousal support. I didn't go after his retirement, what little there was of it. I just wanted out, clean, complete. He kept his clothes, his car, which I stopped making payments on, and whatever dignity he had left. I kept everything else. The house, which I sold for a nice profit, the savings, the retirement accounts, the life I had built. The criminal charges were harder. The district attorney looked at the identity theft evidence and wanted to prosecute, but I asked them to hold off. Dragging Derek through criminal court would have meant more time, more energy, more of my life devoted to a man who didn't deserve it. Instead, I agreed to a civil settlement. Derek would repay the $67,000 in fraudulent debt over 5 years. If he missed a single payment, criminal charges would be filed immediately. It was a sword hanging over his head, and it would stay there until the debt was paid. He was working at a car dealership now, selling used vehicles, making a fraction of what he used to pretend to make. His real estate license had been suspended after his brokerage dropped him. Apparently, employers don't like it when their agents make headlines for fraud. Mama Gwen paid back the $12,000. She had to sell some jewelry and dip into her savings, but she paid it. I didn't feel guilty about that. She'd taken my money while helping her son betray me. Actions have consequences. She didn't speak to me anymore. Neither did anyone in Derek's family. That was fine. They weren't my family. They were just people I'd been supporting for years out of misplaced loyalty. Simone disappeared, deleted all her social media, moved out of the apartment which she couldn't afford without Derek's stolen money funding it. Last I heard, she'd left the city entirely. Maybe she learned her lesson. Maybe she didn't. Either way, she wasn't my problem anymore. As for me, I was finally truly happy. I made partner at my firm. The promotion came through 2 months after the divorce was finalized. My boss said my work had been exceptional over the past year. He didn't know that my side project auditing my own husband had kept my skills sharper than ever. The bonus was $75,000. I put it all into my retirement account. No man was ever going to touch my money again. I sold the house and bought a condo downtown. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, a balcony with a view. It was smaller than what I'd had, but it was mine. Every inch of it. No memories of Derek, no ghost of what used to be. Aunt Ruby came by every Sunday for dinner. She'd sit at my little table, eat whatever I cooked, and tell me how proud she was. No criticism, no complaints, just love. My sister circle met every month for brunch. Bree, Carmen, and me, plus a few new friends I'd made since the divorce. Women who had been through their own struggles, women who understood. We'd talk about everything. Work, life, dating, the future. And sometimes, just sometimes, we'd talk about the party. The night everything changed. It had become legendary, just like Bree predicted. People still talked about it. The anniversary party where the wife exposed her husband's affair in front of 200 guests. The video that revealed everything. The confrontation that ended a marriage. Some people thought I was a hero. Some people thought I was cruel. I didn't really care what either group thought. I did what I had to do. I protected myself. I took back my power, and I refused to be a victim. That's all that mattered. One evening, about 4 months after the divorce was finalized, I was sitting on my balcony reading a book when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered, expecting a spam call. Victoria. It was Derek. I almost hung up. Almost. But something made me pause. What do you want, Derek? He was quiet for a long moment. Then, in a voice I barely recognized, he said, "I'm sorry." I waited. "I know that doesn't fix anything." He continued, "I know I can never make up for what I did, but I needed you to know. I'm sorry. For all of it." I let his words sit there. Didn't respond right away. "Why are you calling me Derek? We have no contact order as part of the divorce." "I know," he said. I've been in therapy, trying to understand why I did what I did, and my therapist said I should make amends, even if you don't accept them." I sighed. "Derek, I don't need your apology. I don't need your amends. What I needed was a faithful husband, and you couldn't give me that. What I needed was a partner, and you were a parasite." He made a sound, like a strangled sob. "You're right," he whispered. "You're right about all of it. I know I'm right," I said. "I've always known. The difference is now everyone else knows too." Silence on the line. "Don't call me again, Derek. We're done. We've been done since the moment you decided to steal from me and cheat on me. Now go live your life and let me live mine." I hung up, and I felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no satisfaction. Just peace. Derek was my past. He would always be part of my story, but he no longer had any power over my present or my future. I was free. Truly, completely, finally free. I went back to my book. The sun finished setting. The city lights came on below me, and I sat there on my balcony in my condo, living my life. The life I had built. The life I had saved. The life that belonged to no one but me. That's the end of my story. Or maybe it's the beginning. I guess it depends on how you look at it. 10 years with a man who didn't deserve me. 6 months of planning his downfall. 12 minutes of truth that changed everything. And now I have the rest of my life to do whatever I want. I think I'm going to enjoy it. If you're still listening, I want to talk to you directly, not as a storyteller, as a woman who has been through it. Maybe you're watching this video because you're going through something similar. Maybe your gut is telling you something is wrong, but you don't want to believe it. Maybe you found evidence, but you don't know what to do with it. Maybe you're scared. I understand. I was scared too. For months, I walked around with the knowledge of Derek's betrayal sitting in my chest like a stone. Some days, it was all I could do to get out of bed and pretend everything was normal. Some days, I wanted to scream the truth in his face and damn the consequences. But I didn't. I waited. I planned. I made sure that when I exposed him, it would be on my terms. You don't have to do what I did. Not everyone needs a dramatic public confrontation. Not everyone has a sister circle of lawyers and IT specialists. Not everyone can afford to wait 6 months. But here's what I want you to know. You can leave. Whatever your situation is, you can leave. You can take back your power. You can stop accepting less than you deserve. The first step is believing you're worth more. The second step is making a plan. The third step is following through. It won't be easy. Change never is. There will be people who judge you, people who tell you to stay quiet, keep the peace. Think of the family, people who make you feel like the bad guy for standing up for yourself. Don't listen to them. They're not the ones living your life. They're not the ones lying awake at night wondering where your husband really is. They're not the ones watching their bank accounts drain while their partner lies to their face. You are, and you deserve better. I spent 10 years with a man who didn't appreciate me. 10 years of being the provider while he played the king. 10 years of funding his dreams while he crushed mine. If I could go back and tell my younger self anything, it would be this. Trust your gut. When something feels wrong, it probably is. I ignored the warning signs for years. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the money that disappeared without explanation. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself all marriages had problems. I told myself it would get better. It didn't get better. It got worse. And by the time I found out the truth, I had lost 10 years and tens of thousands of dollars. Don't make my mistake. Don't wait for proof to trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Ask questions. Demand answers. And if you find out you've been betrayed, don't let shame keep you silent. There is no shame in being lied to. The shame belongs to the liar. You are not responsible for his choices. You are not responsible for his lies. You are not responsible for his weakness. You are only responsible for yourself, for your healing, for your future. And that future can be beautiful. I'm living proof of it. A year ago, I was a woman trapped in a fraudulent marriage, slowly being drained of money and self-respect. Today, I'm a partner at my firm, living in my own condo, surrounded by people who love me for who I am. The path from there to here was hard, but it was worth it. Every difficult conversation, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, it was all worth it. Because now I wake up every morning and I know exactly who I am. I know my worth. I know my strength. I know what I'm capable of. Derek thought he could break me. He thought by stealing my money and cheating on me and planning his escape, he could reduce me to nothing. He was wrong. I'm not nothing. I'm everything. And so are you. Whatever you're facing right now, whatever challenge seems insurmountable, you can overcome it. Not because you're special, not because you're different, but because you're stronger than you know. You just have to believe it. So, if you're sitting there right now wondering if you should stay or go, wondering if you should confront or keep quiet, wondering if you have what it takes to start over, let me tell you something. You do. You absolutely do. You have survived everything life has thrown at you so far, every heartbreak, every disappointment, every betrayal. You're still here. That's not luck. That's strength. Use it. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for letting me share what I went through. Thank you for being part of this journey with me. If this video helped you in any way, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. You never know who might be going through something similar, afraid to speak up, afraid to act, afraid to choose themselves. Let them know they're not alone. Let them know there's another way. Let them know that the truth, however painful, sets you free. I'm Victoria. I'm 38 years old. I'm a forensic accountant who caught my husband stealing from me, exposed his affair at our anniversary party, and rebuilt my life from the ground up. And I would do it all again. Press play on your own life, sis. You deserve the truth. You deserve peace. You deserve everything. Now go get it.